Live. Go ahead, Ray.
Welcome to Caveman Corner. Let's get going, guys.
All right, we're here with Professor Josh Ketry. Professor Ketry is someone I've looked up to for a very long time. Like I said in the header, he's a black belt in business and a black belt on the mat. So, welcome to the show, Josh. Thank you for coming on.
Guys, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate you guys having me on, both of you. I've been kind of watching what you guys are doing with your Caveman's Corner. Like, you guys have both been announcing at K4, which is like awesome. And you guys really have been like kind of the voice of K4 behind the scenes, like helping it grow. And K4 had blown up. Like, we sold out the venue last time, and the fights were awesome. And you guys had a big part of that, and got a big Caveman Corner sign up in the rafters. And
Appreciate that.
When you invited me on, I was excited. I'm like, oh, this is cool. It's local for me. And I know you guys have like people on from all over the place, but it's an honor to be on. So thanks so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
It was great. Just today, I was at Wegman shopping, and this guy came up to me. He's like, "You do the announcing for K4, right?" He's like, "Yeah." And you're Keith, right? I'm like, "No."
That happens a lot.
He's like, I want to get on the card. I was like, "Yeah, man, message Keith. He'll get you on the card." So it's really grown. Everywhere I go, people run into me, and most of the time I think I'm Keith, but sometimes they all know K4. So
yeah, everyone thinks you're his brother too. They're like, "That's Keith's brother, right?" I'm like, sort of. Not really by blood, but
Yeah. Just about.
That's right.
So
awesome.
I started training with you forever ago. We were white belts. We didn't even really have like a black belt instructor. Can you just walk me through your journey to black belt?
Yeah, I can walk you through my journey to black belt. So my first class I ever took was in 1997. So that's how long ago that was. I was just out of high school. I moved to North Carolina with my friend. And of course, I was a fan of UFC and Hoist Gracie and all that. And I was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I heard that Hoist had like an affiliation like a couple hours away in this town called Hillsborough. So I asked my buddy if he wanted to go there. I had some local buddies and stuff like that. I'm like, "You guys want to go?" And a couple of them said yeah. So we started going up there. And there was a blue belt instructor, and like a real athletic dude, a big dude. And there's a couple like tough guys. Like, back in the day, jiu-jitsu was different than it is now, where they would just kick your ass and basically be like, "See, jiu-jitsu works." But it wasn't very welcoming for beginning students, right? It was kind of like they just would beat you up, basically. And seeing a purple belt back then was like seeing a unicorn. And I didn't even know black belts really existed. I was like, I don't think they're real. So I think I went like a full year of training without ever seeing a black belt. The highest I saw was a purple belt. So one of my first times up there, I think it was actually my very first time, there was a female guest purple belt there. And so I was with my one buddy, and he's like really jacked and everything, and has tattoos. He looks kind of like a villain in a James Bond movie. And they're like, "All right, go roll with this girl," basically. And the girl was like, she was petite, not super petite, but she was like athletic build, maybe like 130 pounds. You could tell she was in shape, but man, she mopped the floor with like both of us, right? She like just destroyed us. Like, I was getting armbar, choke, leg lock, just getting murdered, right? And my buddy too. My buddy, like I said, was a big jack dude. We're driving back, and he was all like depressed, like, "Oh, that was so embarrassing. I'm never going back. That was like the worst thing ever." And I had the exact opposite reaction. I was like, "Dude, that was amazing. Like, look at yourself in the mirror. The fact that just happened proves that art is real. That's like a proof. That's a result." And it was like something pure and something honest about it that I just loved. And then I was addicted. I started going like 2-3 times a week, even though it was a 4-hour round trip for me. I was driving 2 hours to train, and then I would drive back, and I'd be pulling over on the side of the road, like puking, like my hands were numb, and learning basically like the scissor sweep. I'd know like one move for a month, and then that was it. But then just go get killed on the mats. And then I ended up moving back to Buffalo, and I was training a little bit with some of my friends, and we were training just kind of like randomly, like wherever we could, like Primo and you. There was like a very few people around that had like subtle had interest in training, but we didn't have proper training, so we were just kind of like just throwing things together. Sometimes like a famous grappler would come to town, and we'd train with them or whatever, but it was nothing structured like it is now. And that went on and off for a while. And then I started having like UFC parties at my house. Like me, my roommate, Mike Dizak, we both loved MMA. He ended up being like a pro fighter, moved up to Vegas and everything like that. And we'd have parties at my house. But like this is back when like it was like Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz, and so then we had like a little grappling group that we would train. We trained in my backyard a lot. We had mats that we just open up in the backyard and train. And one day I got a phone call. It was like from Josh Ketry, and he was getting ready for like the Ultimate Fighter season 1, and there was nobody in Buffalo to train with, and he had heard about our little group and asked if we'd come train. So it was like a couple of wrestler guys that I train with, and Dzak and Dan Hawley, and like just people like that. There's a nice little group of us that trained. Some of them fought MMA, and we just went and trained with Ketry at UB for the first season 1 of Ultimate Fighter. And Ketry, he didn't really know jiu-jitsu, but he was such a good grappler, and he learned so fast. He was just like a sponge, and that he did pretty good. In the season 1, he became really famous from that season 1, and then from there I took a break. Like I didn't train for a few years after training with Ketry and that. I kind of trained here and there, but then Espia like came to town. I skipped a big part here. I'm sorry. I got my blue belt in 2001. So I got my blue belt from Kyle Saunders in Rochester. So like when I moved back from North Carolina, Kyle was in Rochester. He was a purple belt at the time. And I started going there, and I trained there for like 2 years. And I got my blue belt from him, and with my friend Josh. And I was the first blue belt in Buffalo, and Josh was the second blue belt in Buffalo that I know of. And so we were going there training. Then there was a black belt that came there named Alexandre. I trained with him a little bit. And then Ketry came, and then I took a break. So there was like a nice little pause break in there for a few years, where I didn't really train that much. And then Chuck Anzalone came to town, and like he opened a school up in like Lockport, and he was like a brown belt. I was hearing about him, and I started training a little bit again here and there with some friends again. And I really wanted to get into a structured class. And so when he moved to his school to Buffalo, and I seen a bunch of people were going there, I decided to go there and sign up, and started training there. And like honestly, Chuck had he had a monopoly on jiu-jitsu. Like he had like the academy in Buffalo to start, right? And all the academies that exist in Buffalo like now are somehow, as far as I know, somehow fractures or splinters or trickle down from that academy. Like his academy was like kind of the hub, and then everyone that trained there, it ended up fracturing, but all those fractures ended up making like West New York MMA or Jamestown or like all the other schools, and then they fractured. And so like I kind of look back at that time, it was like there were some special times in the mat, because there was like all the people that you see in the jiu-jitsu community at one point were kind of like on the mats there, and it was the time where I ended up getting my purple belt, my brown belt, my black belt from Chuck. He was under De La Hiva at first, and then switched to Cyborg. And so that's the affiliation that we had for a long time. And you were there for a while too.
Yeah, for sure.
And we all trained there. And then like, I'm not gonna on a podcast talk bad about anyone, but we had he had falling outs with people, it's no secret. And the school fractured, and there's other schools that started, and it might have been a bad thing at the time. Like Chuck could have had a monopoly in Buffalo if he wanted to. He could have opened 7 schools, had all black belts working at those schools, but the jiu-jitsu probably wouldn't have grown the same, because there wouldn't have been the competition between the schools, and like to be able to have competitions in the future, because everyone would be on the same team. So in a way, it was kind of a blessing that that he didn't get along so well with everyone, and it kind of fractured off, because it ended up opening a bunch of different schools. And like, eventually when I was a brown belt, I started showing jiu-jitsu to some of the employees where I work. I work at a big restaurant brewery. I wanted to get back to the employees, so I offered like a free jiu-jitsu program, and we did it in one of the banquet rooms. We had mats, we'd set them up, and we started doing like free jiu-jitsu programs in some of the schools around Buffalo, where we use those mats for those programs to try to spread jiu-jitsu to people. And then it just came to the point where like enough people were interested, and we could have had our own location. So that's when Keith Ferrant and myself decided to open up our own school. And we opened up on Main Street, like on the tracks, downtown Buffalo. And shortly after that, Professor Larry, Larry Backless joined up. Then we had the school there for about a year, and I decided that we were going to do a tournament then. So we can get into the tournament in a little bit. I'll just finish kind of like my trajectory to black belt there. I ended up getting my black belt after I opened the school with Keith and with Larry. Larry and I got our black belts together. It was about 7 years ago, I think. So, because I know, you get each degree every 3 years, and I got my second degree last year, or actually 2 years ago. So maybe it was like 8 years ago. So that's been open. Buffalo United Martial Arts has been open for about 8 years now. So I think 8 years in August will be that. And then we end up moving down to Buffalo Riverworks, which is like, if you're not familiar with Buffalo, it's a pretty cool location downtown. There's like a Ferris wheel, and that's where we have the fights. And it's kind of like this mishmash of all things Buffalo. There's like grain silos and ice skating and just random like kayaking and zip lining and, concerts and a brewery. And we just kind of like did a mishmash of everything cool we could think of. And one of them is jiu-jitsu tournaments and MMA fights. And our academy happens to be in the little front room there. So it's pretty cool. That's kind of my story to black belt, my journey for jiu-jitsu in Buffalo. So, yeah.
I appreciate it very much. And part of your journey got me into jiu-jitsu too. Like, we used to train together for a long time. I went to a tournament and you like smoked me, you passed my guard. Like, I didn't know jiu-jitsu. I was like, man, I gotta go train over at Buffalo BJJ too. I gotta get good like Josh.
Oh,
And like, man, it was the start of me, and I appreciate that so much.
yeah. Now you're a black belt. You ascended black belt, competed again, and you beat me this time. So maybe we need a third time to go again.
Yeah.
But,
Josh. That's Buffalo jiu-jitsu history right there.
Yeah, there's actually a lot more, but like I'm kind of delicate with the history of Buffalo because when I get into the tournament, do you guys want to talk about the tournament now? Is that cool?
Yeah. Let's just jump into the tournament. That's perfect.
All right, so the tournament's been going on for this will be the 8th year as well. And when I started the tournament, right, the idea for the tournament, it was very scary, right? I was very nervous because like of all the fractured schools in Buffalo, like there's like people don't like each other, pretty, there's bad blood between people and they hold grudges and stuff like that. But I always consider myself pretty diplomatic. I try to take every person. I don't make judgments based on other people's judgments. I'll listen to them. I'll take caution. If someone's like, be careful, that person's not trustworthy, I'll be cautious. But I don't like to make judgments based on other people's judgments. I like to make judgments based on my own judgments. So up to that point, I had been pretty much cool with everyone. Like all the schools that fractured, I still talked to pretty much everyone. I didn't feel like I had a problem with anyone. And we were opening Riverworks, and it was kind of like a dream come true to me. Like I was part of opening Riverworks, and I was like, this is just a location to me that can showcase Buffalo in so many ways. And I felt like I was in a position, both in the jiu-jitsu community and the Buffalo community, to do something. But Riverworks wasn't built yet, but I knew it was being built. And my original vision was I really wanted to put a jiu-jitsu tournament alongside of, there was a judo tournament that happened every Memorial Day weekend. It used to happen at UB. It was like a really, really big tournament. For some reason, I forget the name of the tournament.
Can-Ams.
Can-Ams. And I really wanted to be alongside of it. That was like my vision. And so I was like, I'm going to do the first tournament on that weekend. We ended up doing it in like a little rinky-dink place in like West Seneca. It was really small. It was really hard, really expensive. We only had like 100 competitors in the first tournament. I lost pretty much $20,000 or more actually the first tournament. Like just took a risk. I went into debt, like bought mats, like rented the place. I paid everyone really well. I want to make sure that we had a good vibe so that the next year, if it grew, it would like sustain itself. And what I did was I wanted to reach out to someone in a school that had like other connections that like reach across an olive branch and do it with someone. So at the time I reached across to Mike Katillis. And Mike Katillis was over at Western New York MMA at the time. And he was old school too. He had trained with us with like Koscheck back in the day. So I know him a long time. He was a competitor and had competed a lot around the country. Like I competed like a bunch, but not as much as him. Like he competed a lot. And honestly, like it was terrifying, like running a tournament. I didn't know what I was doing. It wasn't like there's a book, like go do this. It was just like, all right, I'm going to do it and figure it out as I go. But it would be a lot helpful if I had people with me that understood a little bit about what that meant to do, right? So Catilis was interested, we talked, and like, so we worked on an arrangement where like he handled certain things, I handled certain things, and we started the Buffalo Classic, and then we did that first one, and it was like I was in tears at one point because like privately, but I was really sad because like the turnout was so much lower than I expected, and I worked really hard. I put a lot of effort into like trying to reach out to people and get people excited, and I lost my shirt on it, and like we stuck with it though. We're like, we lost it once. Let's see if we can build off of it. It was a lot of work, man. Like I was like hauling mats by myself and like setting up and breaking down. It was just so much work. And then the second year, it gained momentum, and like a lot of other people from a lot of other schools kind of recognized what we were trying to do. And like people, like I asked for help. I just put a help, like, can anyone help on the internet, like set up and break down? So it's like not so much. And then like, if 3 people show up to set up, that's like 5. And if 5 people show up, that feels like 10. And if 10 people show up, that feels like 20. And if 20 people show up, you set up in like 5 minutes. It's like done. Where the first day it took me like 10 hours to do it with like a couple people, you know what I mean? And then I lost. So like I worked my butt off and like lost money. It was pretty painful. But then the next year, like, we lost a little money, but not like that much. Then the next year, like it broke even, and then it started making money. But even the first year, we wanted to use it for like a social good. We wanted like all the businesses that I'm involved in, like try my best to attach a social like benefit to them, right? Like I believe like people sometimes think capitalism is like a bad word, and it can be. Like there's like plenty of bad companies, like plenty of companies that will do bad things if you just let them, right? But I believe there are ethical companies, and they need to adhere to like 5 pillars of business. And those 5 pillars are, first, it has to take care of itself. Like if the business doesn't take care of itself and it goes broke, it's not going to help the other 4 pillars, right? Then it needs to take care of its employees, the people that like help it. I'm like a huge believer in that. Like anytime I have a say in like taking care of people that help a business, I think it's really, really important to do that. I'm really big on like percent based, like bonuses, things like that. Like if we do good, everyone does good. If we don't do good, like then maybe everyone doesn't do as good because that's like fair, right? And then but like take care of your employees like the best you can, and to do that, like you really need transparency, like try to show everyone like kind of what's going on with the business, right? The business should take care of like the community, like however it can. So for our, for this tournament, we raise money for every single one. We charge a door fee and then donate it. Like, so like we don't really charge a door fee. Like you don't have to donate at the door if you don't want to. Like that's cool. If you can't afford it or something like that, that's fine. Like most tournaments will take the money and just say, you got to pay this at the door. But we don't do that. We ask for a donation, and then we pick a cause. And we've donated money every year from everything for like Vector Jiu Jitsu, which cool little program down in Jackson, Mississippi, where they would do Jiu Jitsu with a really low income, like school, like a high school. And the student, like the actual school itself, something had like a 40% graduation rate, really low. But of the students that were part of Vector Jiu Jitsu, they had really close to 100% graduation rate from the students that were part of the Jiu Jitsu program. And so they needed funding for things like, gis and mats and things like that. So the first couple of years we donated to that. And then we started doing some local charities too. We did like shelters and like just programs for foster kids, just things like that. So we tie our success to the success of some charity that we thought was a good local charity too. So you have like a business that takes care of itself, its employees, its community, its customers, right? Like that's important to take care of your customers. If you don't take care of your customers, you're not going to end up taking care of yourself. So we try to give a really good product with the Fight Family tournaments. We bring refs in, like we bring a whole ref system in from like out of the country actually. And they help us referee and try to make it unbiased and fair and high level. So we try to mimic the IBJJF rule set, not because it's my favorite rule set or anything, but because it's the pinnacle of like the world championships and the Pan Ams. And if local students want to compete in those tournaments, we wanted them to be prepared for the etiquette and the rule set of what that meant. And it's worked, man. Like we've had a bunch of local students like win Masters Worlds and get really far in the World Championships. Even some of our own students like have won the Master Worlds. So it's like really cool. And I think like having the etiquette here and understanding like the rule set really lays a ground foundation to achieve that. So that's what we try to give to the customers. And the last is, I think all businesses should take care of the environment. And that's kind of like a vague thing, but like, I mean, the Fight Family brand and the Fight Family thing, there's not really an environment damage that we do. So there's not really anything that we can take care of, you know what I mean? But if you're like a business that has something like pollution or something, you should try to, adhere to that. I know it's a hot button political issue, like talking about, DEIs and the environment, credit carbon, and all that stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just like the environment is something we all share. We just shouldn't pollute. We shouldn't just pollute our environment. We should be courteous of each other. And that doesn't have to mean a lot, but if you have a business that could potentially harm that, it should be considered, right? Not some mandated top-down thing, but just a consideration of what I consider the 5 pillars of a ethical business, right? So we built Fight Family with that in mind, and the tournament series. And then it started growing. We've had the high watermark, I think, is like 470 or 460 competitors signed up. The average is probably like between 2 and 250 is like kind of standard. Like the 1 year that we had like close to 500, the Canadian government decided to ban jiu-jitsu tournaments and lump it in with MMA. So when they did that, like all of Canada was like, we're coming down, be ready. So we were, that was the fall tournament too. That was like for the open. So it was gi and no gi. It was it was super fun. But our average tournament is probably between 200 and 300 people. For the one coming up right now, we have over 200 signed up, which is always a good sign. And Buffalo is like notorious for procrastinating. So I imagine that we'll get, a nice little chunk of people signing up in the next 2 days here. So if you're thinking about signing up, you mind if I plug it real quick?
No, I want you to, 100%. That's why we're doing this.
If you're thinking about signing up, you only got 2 days left to sign up. So you have till Tuesday, May. What is Tuesday? Can't see my calendar. Maybe May 25th, I think. 23rd. Tuesday, May 23rd.
Yeah, today's the 21st.
All right, Tuesday,
23rd.
May 23rd. You have until 11:59 p.m. to sign up. And then you have until Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. to change your divisions. And the reason we do this is this is how the big tournaments do it. You're going to have to sign up to your division ahead of time, and then there will be a cutoff date, and then you're going to have to change your divisions by a cutoff date. And then, like, if you're not familiar with IBJJF rules, you're going to have to make weight with a gi on. So you have to wear your uniform to make weight. So I always recommend, like, don't cut more weight than you need to, right? Like, so last year I competed for the first time in a long time, and I was able to make featherweight, or maybe like, I don't even remember, 148 was what I weighed with the gi on, like the day of. And, but I was walking around at that at the time. Like now I'm a little heavy. I'm a lot heavier now, actually. I added dairy back in, I have a special diet. I added dairy back in my diet. And so I was able to put on like 10 to 15 pounds. So I fluctuate a lot heavier now. I feel a lot better. I felt good then too, but I felt just light. Like, you know what I mean? Like I would get, passing was my thing, and I would try to pass and I'd feel like I was getting thrown around, and I was like, oh, I'm not used to this little peanut butter. So, yeah, that was just like, I wouldn't recommend like sucking too much weight, because you don't get to weigh in way before your tournament. You weigh in right before your match. So if you're not rehydrated, you're going to feel that, right?
Yeah, you get like an hour to rehydrate, and it was awesome because we just went up a weight class. I walk around like 155-ish. I usually cut down, and then you're like, I'm just gonna go up anyway. So like, it worked out really good.
Yeah, it was cool.
I'm waiting for this end of this podcast. We're gonna sign up today, and then it'll be me and Cameron at Division 2. So another
Nice.
battle of the old guys.
Yeah, nice. Two good training partners. I like that. He's got a tricky spider guard. So I'm giving away your secrets, Cam. I remember. So remember the spider guard, circle the hands, back out. Like he's tricky. He's got a good guard.
I'm gonna try and see if I can get a $50 bet with him. Like we'll donate to each other's charity. I'll have him donate to Feed More, and I'll donate to his ministry, and then I think it'd be a cool thing. Hopefully, I can get that done before the tournament.
Nice, dude. That's cool. That's always add a little spice to something that you're doing, right? That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, it still goes a good cause. Michael T. Schultz is looking to bring back the no-gi.
Oh, for the tournament?
Yeah.
We do the no-gi in the fall tournament, but we haven't done the fall tournament in a couple of years because of, we had COVID and like it was a mess, So like last year, like it was to the point where the tournament was barely viable again because like not enough people signed up really. there's like a break-even point, and it was kind of close. This year, I think we're going to be okay, but last year was like that, and so to do the fall tournament, I didn't want to like lose money like twice. You know what I mean? So we're kind of waiting for it to see if it can gain legs again, which I think it will. We got so many good schools in the area. It's just like we need the professors to like, if they want to like push competition. And I know like some schools had fallings out or whatever, but this is like, it's nothing personal here. It's just a tournament, right? And so it's good for the students. And like I always tell them, like, listen, if you're listening to this, any of the professors in Buffalo, if you're listening, if you have students that can't afford to do the tournament, like reach out to us. There's all different kinds of ways. First of all, we donate a bunch of entry fees every year to people that can't afford it. But also, like, we have volunteer opportunities. Like, you can volunteer to help set up, to break down, to work a table, to do like stuff like that for your entry fee or half your entry fee or whatever. And we'll work with people. We're not like, nobody should be not competing because they can't afford it, right? That's the way I look at it. We've all been in circumstances like that, and like, yeah, we'll if every professor out there can have a couple scholarships to give to their students that they think should be competing and learning this stuff. And then eventually we'd love to, I know Catilis and I have talked about this, love to have a way where you win your way into bigger tournaments, kind of like poker, you win your way into the World Series of Poker. Like there's, or they do that for the Ontario Open. I don't know why we couldn't do that here. We could, but that's a pretty big risk for us because that's like all of a sudden, all right, now we need to have $7,000-$10,000 set aside for that. And if we lose money, then we have to lose that too, because like we're going to be impeccable with our word no matter what. If we run a tournament, we're going to pay for whatever we said we're going to pay for. But it's not really fair to fall back on us if the tournament can't support itself. So if the tournament gains traction again, we are going to, we've already talked about upping the prizes and having things that are like really, really valuable. But that's up to the community. Like that's not really up to us, So
I just wanted to you gave me one of those donation entries before. I wanted to finish the story. I let one of my older gentlemen, Butch, Butch, Ray.
I know Butch too.
Him, yeah. So like he was the one that got the free entry back then. He was having a hard time. He could only pay for his kid to entry, and he wanted to do it so bad. But he put the money down for his kid to entry, and I was like, man, I can get you in. So he did it. He went against Ramon. He won his first match. He lost the second match, but I encouraged him to go on, and then he fought, and that was like his big goal was to be able to fight. And I think you had a big part of that, and I want to thank you for that too.
Wait, Butch is like an older guy, right? A little bit.
Yeah, the older Butch guy.
He was like a brown belt in judo.
No, not Grandpa Butch, not the old Butch, not the one that used to give us all the videos in the old day.
Yeah.
One of my student Butch. He's actually not doing too good. He's I'll talk to you about it off air, but he's in ill health right now.
Oh no.
Yeah, I still talk to him all the time.
Well,
yeah.
If you want to talk about health, like I had some ill health problems too. I had some rough times with my health. And Butch, if you're listening, I can empathize with that. Like, keep fighting, dude. Like that's don't give up, man. Keep moving forward until you're stopped. And like I believe our bodies are resilient, and like there's ways to find ways around things that I didn't even realize existed. Like 2 years ago, if you told me what happened to me would have happened to me, I would have thought that you were like just telling a story. Like I would have made fun of you probably. But do you want me to go into that? Do you want to branch off into some health stuff?
Let's just close up the tournament real quick, and then we'll jump right into that.
All right.
So we'll add a link into where to sign up at the end of this, or somehow we'll figure it out, and I'll tag it and all the stuff after that.
It's I'll just say it one time. It's Submission Circuit. So that's one way. Or you can go to fightfamily.com and find like a link to Submission Circuit. So Fight Family kind of like sponsors the tournament and runs the tournament, but it's submissioncircuit.com is where you can sign up. So.
All right. So if you're watching and waiting to sign up, like Jared right here, he said procrastinating right now. Sign up right now. Do it right now.
Yeah.
Make sure that Josh can put the fall tournament on so we can do no-gi, and me and Michael T. Schultz can have a super fight.
Yeah, I like this idea a lot. Very cool.
Yeah, we'll put $100 on this one for whatever charity that we each like.
That's awesome. I love that.
He's down for it too. Like I had him in. We did. I had him come in do a seminar, and then we're like cross training, and all kinds of stuff. So like I love Mike, and I'm glad
Yeah,
he's doing well over at Spar there. Schultz is in.
nice. Nice. That's a cool thing about our community is like we train with everyone. We can compete against them and then like hug it out. Like when I made like a clip, a video clip of our tournament the one year. We had a drone and stuff, and I shot the video. And I was just home like going through the clips. And what really stood out to me, and I didn't realize this, was like after every single match, everyone stops. They get your hand raised, and then they turn and hug each other. Everyone, didn't matter who it was. And I made a little clip of all the people hugging like at the end because I just thought it was so cool. I never realized it was like that prevalent where like, no one ever told you to hug after a match, but like every single person did it, and I'm like, that's jujitsu. Like we push each other to make the art better, to make the art more honest and more pure, and like to me, that's what jujitsu is. Like people ask me like, what's your favorite part about jujitsu? Or like someone will come in and be like, what has jujitsu done for your life? Right. Like to me, the number one thing for me is that like, it forced me to be honest with myself. Like I couldn't lie anymore. And this is like everyone, or I don't know why I say everyone, but like almost everyone I knew growing up was a liar at some point, right? Would lie about things and lie about their status, kind of lie about like who they were. Not like big lies, but just like they thought they were bigger than they were and different than they were, and they wouldn't really test themselves in the right way. And in jiu-jitsu, when it's one-on-one and you're out there, there's no lying. You can't lie. And it really helps if you are brutally honest with yourself. I'm like, all right, I suck in this position. I'm going to work on this position. And that's such a valuable lesson. And once I learned that lesson, like from jiu-jitsu, it translated into what is commonly known now as the growth mindset. Like the idea that like you can grow, like none of your traits are fixed. Your intelligence is not a fixed trait. Your strength is not a fixed trait. Your speed is not a fixed trait. But most importantly, your skills, they're not fixed traits. And almost everything is a skill. You can learn almost anything. And jujitsu like translated to so like once I learned that from jujitsu, I like put it into every aspect of my life. I put it into my relationships. I was like, I'm going to work on my relationships honestly. Now, like when I have a problem with like my wife or my family or my dad, like I just talk directly. I say like, this is the problem we're having. Let's fix this problem, because it's so much easier than like hiding your problem or playing games or what. No, let's just shoot straight and like let's not puff up. Let's not shrink. Let's just talk about the problem, and then we can grow from it, right? And if you do that in jiu-jitsu, that's how all jiu-jitsu was created. Like, I'm stuck in this position. Does this work? No. Does this work? No. Does this work? Oh, sort of. Well, what if I change the angle? Oh, a little better. And then like that's how jiu-jitsu is made, by being honest and talking and sharing information with people, right? So that is like to me is the most important thing that I learned from jiu-jitsu. That and like and then we see like after a match, no one's mad or really upset. Like sometimes you see little kids get upset, or people people that don't control their emotions, but most people are like, man, I respect you for being a warrior with me in the arena here, and like furthering the art and furthering my progress and my growth. Let's hug. And so when I seen all those people hugging, I was like, this is so cool. This is like I didn't realize that was a thing till the drone footage showed me like over and over again. And I was like, wow, this is like, it made me smile. Every time I watch it, I smile. I'm like, this is awesome, So that's really the main core thing that I learned from jiu-jitsu is how to be honest with myself and how to learn growth mindset. And it taught me growth mindset without knowing what growth mindset was. And then when I eventually learned what growth mindset was, like from I read a bunch of books on it and stuff like that, then I became a student of growth mindset. Like I've read so much about it. Like, a big fan of like Josh Waitskin. He's like a professional chess player, and he writes about it in his book. I ended up training jiu-jitsu with Josh Waitskin and like, talking about growth mindset afterwards, which was really cool. But then when like Coach McDermott came to the Buffalo Bills and started talking about trust the process, that's growth mindset talk. I'm like, he's a growth mindset guy. I got so excited. I told everyone, we're going to make the playoffs. I'm like, you watch, we're going to grow. And they did. They grew. Now there's one more big growth to take, right? That's win the Super Bowl, or at least get to the Super Bowl. But he's at least proven the growth mindset again at a high level, showing that you can take a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 20 years and become a perennial playoff team by keeping the mindset of always looking and being honest and growing. And they're always changing. I love watching like the coaching side of the Bills because of the growth mindset. But that I all learned that from jiu-jitsu, right? So just thought I'd share that.
I like that a lot. And
Yeah.
that kind of leads into my next question is like all of a sudden, like once you started getting your black belt and you really got Buma going, you started to really be outspoken. You became more of an ambassador for jiu-jitsu, which I love to see as a jiu-jitsu practitioner. And then I watched it was more than just jiu-jitsu. You became like an ambassador for like the growth mindset and life itself. And I watch you post about things and take more of interest in local government and all kinds of stuff. And this is when I really started to like this is someone I want to associate with. This is someone I want to unite with. Like I want to try and model my gym after your gym. I want integrity to be like Booma, and we've got together. We've done a kids training session, and
Yeah.
like our teams train with each other, and I think it's really awesome.
Yeah, I think you're doing an awesome job there, man. Like, first of all, thank you. Like, those of you that don't know, over Christmas during the storm, we had one of our pipes burst at our academy, and the National Guard was downtown. There was like 7 feet of snow or something, so the National Guard wouldn't even let us get down there. I could just see on the cameras outside the jiu-jitsu school 7 feet of snow just melting away, and I was like, something's going on. There's like water at the school, like, and our entire school was flooded. All of our mats were ruined. And it was a mess. It took us like weeks to clean it up. And first of all, thank you to everyone that helped us clean it up. We cleaned it up. We got new mats. But in that time, you reached out to all of our students and myself and said, hey, come here and train. And, invited us with open arms. And, man, your school felt like home. Like, I love training there. You guys were awesome. Good jiu-jitsu practice. Your kids are really good. Kids were awesome, man. When they came to our school to train with our guys, like, they were really good. But thank you for inviting us. And I feel like your model at Integrity is the kind of model I want to associate with too. Like I think, and the Cavemans Corner and everything. Like it's important that we have groups of people working together. Well, like you're talking about, like I've been involved in politics and things like that. It's really not so much politics for me. I started like studying systems, just systems of people and systems of everything. And I started seeing just how corrupt the systems are, right? I started looking and seeing like, man, these systems are corrupt. Of course, if the system is run by a person that has integrity, then the system won't be corrupt. But so many people can be swayed to be, even if they're a good person, they can be swayed to do bad things, and then the whole system falls apart. And so there's so many of our systems are just corrupted, right? It's just like, systems of government, systems, like all the systems are corrupted. Our systems of food, our schooling systems, anything that can be corrupted, I believe, like has been. So when I see all these systems, to me, I started studying systems and seeing ways to like fix them, and then started getting outspoken about like we need to be able to fix these systems. Like I see ways to fix them, but it requires like people working together in like a decentralized kind of fashion, like where there's not really a leader. Because if you have a leader will be corrupted. It will happen. It doesn't matter. You can corrupt people so many different ways. You can corrupt them with blackmail. You can corrupt them with fear. You can corrupt them with money. You can corrupt them with violence. You can corrupt them with violence to their family. Like, you need systems of people that are just decentralized, working in the same direction. And those systems are really hard to corrupt. And there's a lot of examples, and we could dive into this really deep. And maybe this is for a different podcast. But like, there's just like examples of systems that haven't been corrupted in the world that exist are mostly decentralized systems, right? Like for a simple example is Bitcoin, like the money system. People don't understand it, so they think that it's been corrupted. They think that like, this big scandal that happened with FTX recently, that was a centralized entity controlling the Bitcoin codes, basically the keys, and they corrupted it. But it wasn't Bitcoin itself got corrupted. It was a centralized system. People trusted something that was corrupted, right? And so, but Bitcoin itself has never been corrupted. It's never been duplicated. And, people don't understand what it really is. But to me, it was like one of the greatest inventions in the last 15 years. And we'll see if it stands up to the test of time. Government's coming for it for sure. They're going to try to take it out because they see the danger in letting people have their own money, right? All money is, people think that money, people always give me an argument like, oh, gold is better than the dollar. All of it's the same. All of it to me is, all money is trust. Like, it's a unit of trust between two people. Like, if I say this gold bar, you trust that it has value because it has value, intrinsically on the market. But the dollar has trust, or like the yuan has trust. Well, if we all decide to trust Bitcoin, That's just as good as trusting anything else. It's just our decision to trust it, right? But because there's no centralized, anything that's centralized can be corrupted. And when you corrupt it, you get like a big cache of things. So if you corrupt like, let's say you corrupt a server that has everyone's passwords on it, you might get millions and millions of passwords. But if everyone kept their own passwords on a thumb drive at home and didn't give it to a centralized server, that's what basically Bitcoin is, then you can't only corrupt one node of the system. You can't corrupt the whole thing. It's impossible because you have to go to each individual person to corrupt it, right? It would be like if I had my bar of gold, you had your bar of gold. It would be a lot harder to get all the gold in the country if everybody had one coin than if we took all those coins and put it in one central place and said, okay, that central place, every criminal would be looking at it, thinking of a way to get to it, right? So the only really way to have a good system is to be decentralized, and then it won't be corrupted, and then be transparent. So like I try to do this in my businesses. I decentralize my own leadership as much as I can. I don't barely ever tell people what to do. I say, what do you guys think we should do? I take votes and say, like, what are we going to do? And then listen. And man, when I tell you this, like listening is a powerful tool. It's not just like some tool that's like, okay, it's good, ethical, makes you feel good. No. It's better to listen than it is to lead and say, this is what we're going to do. The results. Like I live a life with all of our tournament medals and all of our trophies have a little saying on it. It says nullius in verba. And that means take nobody's word, right? Be results driven. Like results matter most, right? And so nullius in verba. And so like, if I look at the results of my life, the times I've listened to the group of people that I've been in charge of, anytime I've been in charge of a group, if I really listen, it just works. And it's easy. It's an easy way to lead. I don't got to do much. I just go, all right, guys, what do you guys think we should do? All right, let's try that. And then, first of all, it deflects responsibility off me. I'm like, you guys are the ones that said to do this, not me, right? But it works like insanely well. Like I can think of, some restaurants that I work at and breweries. These are like monster restaurants. Like in terms of the country, they're in like the top 100 restaurants in the country, and independently owned restaurants for locations. There's so many amazing ideas that came backwards, that came from the group to the top. Like there's very good ideas that came from management too, but like so many amazing ones came backwards, like really mind-blowingly amazing ones. And when you listen to those ideas, you saw results, right? So like I highly recommend, like if you're in charge of a business or a group of people, like I would pass out questionnaires. Every meeting I have, I'd pass out questionnaires and be like, what would you guys do here? What would you do here? What would you do here? And right now I'm considering joining a company where we work on AI. It's like artificial intelligence, where it gets group consensus in using AI in real time from people. So it's not AI like using like a computer model. It's AI using individual people that plug in, and we come up with we push and pull on ideas until we get one idea out of the group, and it's scalable, like with like a hive mindset basically. So you have like little groups of 15, and then those groups of 15 plug into a big group, and so you could come up with like consensus ideas for massive groups, and then plug into government and fix government, then plug into businesses and fix businesses. But we need a tool first, so that's kind of a side project I'm considering right now, really diving into pretty hard. So that's for a different topic too. But these are all systems related problems, right? And yeah, so that's like the topic. Like we could get into this really deep. I write a Substack. I'm gonna plug myself really quick. It's called The Rationalist Society of Problem Solvers. I have a bunch of guest writers and myself, and we try to solve systematic problems from society, from our food systems to our government systems to systems of money to systems of anything, really. It can be all different kinds of systems and problems. Any problem that we can come up with to try to solve, we'll like write about it and talk about it. And like our culture, like right now we have a lot of cultural problems in America where we're split. People are being pushed apart. And then when you go out in the real world and talk to people, everyone's pretty cool. Like I can get along with almost everyone. So I'm like, this divide is like, it's fake. It's a fake divide, but there's a few hot button topics. However, like when you talk to people like on those really hot button topics, you can come to a rational consensus. And I always think if we had like an artificial intelligence to bring us all together, that we trusted the system, it was a transparent system. We said, all right, this is my vote. This is what I'm voting for in the system. We could push and pull on ideas and come up with really good solutions to our problems, right? We could come up with solutions to even the worst, most hot button problems that exist, like gun control, abortion, like these really push and pull ideas. We can say, listen, let's come up with a solution and shelf it. We don't need to fight over it for the next 50 years, for the next 100 years. We can say, look, this is the best route. We're going to try to follow this line. Let's all agree to it. And then shelf the idea and just focus on that problem that we agreed to together. But we need to have a tool to get to consensus first. So that's kind of like what we're working on now. And I'm going to find a way to find this, even if the tool that I'm working on right now isn't the right tool. I'm going to keep looking for that tool. You know, I think that's what needs to be found right now to fix that. So that's what you're talking about with, you know, government, and what I write about all the time in my Substacks is just bringing people together to solve problems. And it started with the jiu-jitsu community, because jiu-jitsu community is problem solvers. We're a group of problem solvers. We have problems and we talk about solutions to those problems. They're grappling problems, but you know, it's like chess. We have it's a system. It's a system that looks so crazy and complex to the naked eye. And then you dive into it and you can break it down into little pieces, and then we can understand the system, right?
And it's crazy because we all work together too. Like every possible division that you have online all comes together on the mat, and we all figure out problems together. So like we see it every day in real life. Me and you for sure as gym owners, we see like Republicans and Democrats, like pro-life, like you know, everything. Like they're all together on the mat. They train, and everyone can get along. So it's really just talking about things and figuring issues out. Like it shouldn't be as hard as it is today.
It's simple if we make a code of honor and live by that code. And that code of honor needs to be results. We need to say, listen, what result do we want to see? Like, you can argue about guns all you want, right? But we still want the results of less school shootings, right? We still want the results of a safe society that can't be taken over by tyrannical government. So where's the rationality there? How do we get to that point? Is there a way? I can think of like a lot of ways to get there that doesn't involve just taking all the guns away from everyone, or just letting anyone go buy a gun and just shoot everyone. There's a rational way that we can talk about. And because we have states, we could try one idea here and work it out, right? But we can't do it unless we have a tool. Like, our politicians don't even know what we want. They're not taking like feedback from us. They're just telling us top down, this is what you're doing. That's not how a democracy is supposed to work. We're supposed to be part of the solution. So we need to be part of the solution. We need to be results driven. So that means like we have to like adhere to results. If we're not seeing the results we want, we got to keep tweaking the systems, right? And not be afraid to admit when we're wrong and say, listen, be honest with ourselves. Have that jiu-jitsu mindset and be like, we're not good in this position. Let's change what we're doing. Like I always give the example of the war on drugs. It's a horrible failure, but the results that we're seeing are making it worse. We got to do something different. Like, that's just not right. But the war on drugs exists because of the corruption. It's like, we know that they're not really trying to reduce addiction. They're not really trying to reduce overdoses. They're using it as a tool to do a whole bunch of other stuff that has nothing to do with us. So we need to take like responsibility and take control back. We can absolutely do that. But we need to get together. They don't want us to get together. They want us divided. We need to say, fuck that. We're not, sorry. I don't know if you can swear on your podcast.
But that's what we need to say.
It's an emotional response, right? It's an emotional response because we're being attacked, and we're being taken advantage of. And what they fear most is the tyranny of the masses. And we need to tyranny the masses and put a big spotlight back on government. All this surveillance stuff they want to put on us, like surveilling our phones and like digital currencies where it's centralized, which is like the opposite of Bitcoin. You hear about central bank digital currencies. These are scary things if you understand what they are. Or like them controlling the food supply and like all this stuff. This is stuff that we need to say no. And like we need to have our own solutions to. And we need to be part of the solutions. And we can be, right? It's just like we need to decide to be and find a way. There can't be a leader though. Every time there's a leader that rises up, look what happens to John F. Kennedy Jr. or Martin Luther King. They're going to take you out, or they're going to corrupt you some other way with Epstein or what. You know what I mean? There's no way to do it. We need to create a new system that makes the old one obsolete and just plug that system in. That's like a system that can't crack. You know what I mean? Like just do it locally somewhere. Start in Buffalo, take over local Buffalo government, decentralize the leadership here, and just prove how it works. And I'm so confident it will work. Like I know that decentralized leadership will work. Imagine if I was running for office and I said to you,
I'll vote for you.
What?
I'll vote for you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. But like, I don't want to run for office, but we need someone like brave. I'm too easy to pick apart. They'll be like, oh, you did drugs when you're back in the day. You did it. They'll find like, I got in trouble with LSD. They'll just pick me apart, right? I mean,
They pick me apart too.
you're right, exactly. So it'll be too easy. Oh,
Yeah.
you laughed at a racist joke when you're 18. I'm like, yeah, but I don't even know my own race. So like, but who cares? I'm adopted, so I don't know. But they'll find something that like, and they try to like cancel me. And we need someone who's like pure and like can just run and who's like a true who cares about the country and can be really transparent with themselves to just imagine if I was running and I had like, I was easy to run and I just ran into office and said this. I'm not going to run my office at all anymore. You guys are going to run it for me. Every meeting I have, I'm putting online. Every decision I make, I'm putting on this voting system. Every vote that I vote on a bill, I want to hear your feedback on it first. I want to see exactly what you guys think about it. I want the bill posted online so everyone can read it and give me feedback. And I'm going to break the bill down and I'm only going to represent you, truly represent you, what you guys say. Granted, I still have the power to override you, I guess would be a thing, but I probably wouldn't if it was me running. Maybe if I really saw a problem and it was like a close decision, and I don't know how I'd reason with this yet, but I think that doing something like this, decentralizing your own leadership, is the future of governance. We can self-govern. We don't need government telling us what to do anymore. We can self-govern, and everyone's worried about direct democracy, tyranny of the masses. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm still talking about a representative democracy with a constitution and courts and individual rights protected, but where we really have a say. And we can see exactly what our say is compared to what our representatives are doing. And like, imagine we did something like this right now for the Jeffrey Epstein client list. The whole world would be like, show me that client list and prosecute them. Why isn't that? Well, it belongs to intelligence. Well, that's scary, right? If you read Whitney Webb's books about One Nation Under Blackmail, it's the scariest book I ever read. It's like we're being run by the mob, basically. It's really scary. And every thread you can pull on, every thread's verifiable. You can't go up against that. You can't just go into office and change that. You're going to get killed. Your family's going to be in danger. Your plane's going to crash. Like, it's corrupt. What you need is to say, listen, if I die, I'm running for office. It doesn't matter if I die. It don't matter. I don't care if you kill me. Go ahead, kill me. I would run with that kind of confidence too. I would run with that kind of like go ahead, kill me. Like I'm not me. I'm running for the people behind me, and they're going to tell me what to do. If you kill me, someone's going to pick up the flag and take my place. And when they do, they're going to still turn around to ask the people, what are we going to do? And the people are going to say, make everything transparent. Every single document to hear that's like classified, let's make them all unclassified unless there's some independent thing that says this is really a government secret, like a military secret. We should know who's on Epstein's client list. That isn't a military secret. That's a disgusting thing that happened. That means our entire system is run by people who are blackmailed. And we just brush that off and say, oh, okay, we're going to accept that. Well, I won't accept that. I've dedicated a big part of my life to trying to find a way to crack into that. And I think I have a way. I think the way is decentralization and transparency, but not just like total decentralization. Like we need some kind of organization. So that's why we need like AI to like bring us together and say, all of us are going that way because we agreed on it. We found a consensus and now we're going that way. And we're results driven. We're not going to accept bad results anymore. We're looking for good results. So like, do you want me to segue into diet right here? Because I can segue into diet. Or are we going too long here?
No, we're waiting for Ray to ask you about your diet.
All right. So
no, but I was gonna say that with the high level governors, government people in the list, they don't want to let out. You know what I mean? Like this country is so programmed for Republicans and Democrats, and all these politicians come up, and then like the people is like, oh, I'm just voting for him. He's a Democrat. They don't care about the issues.
Yeah. Well, first, that's another thing. We need to be results driven, and we need to take responsibility. Take responsibility for our own government. Right now, we need to make the decision and say, I'm going to be active, and I'm not going to be active in a way where I'm Democrat or Republican. I'm going to be active in a way where, excuse me, I'm results driven. I don't care what that means. Like there's a saying that I believe it was Naval Ravikant said the one saying, but I think he was quoting someone else. It might have been Nassim Taleb, who wrote like Black Swan. I think he talks about this. At home in my house, I'm a communist. With my friends and family, I am a socialist. And in my neighbors in my town with my next door neighbors, I'm a Democrat. And the bigger the level gets, then I'm a Republican at the state level, and at the national level, I'm a libertarian or an anarchist even. Right? The bigger the system is, the more chances there are is going to be someone trying to corrupt it. So you can't just be like, if you're a national level like anarchist or communist at a national level, well, go ahead, open your windows and doors and just let people walk in your house. Don't ever lock your door. Leave your door open. I leave my door open for my family, right? For my friends. All my friends have keys in my house pretty much. I like trusting people. But the bigger the system is, the more it has to be impervious to corruption, right? So there's got to be a fusion. There's got to be a fusion of all the ideas. It's not just left or right. So they try to push you into like, oh, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. Well, I have emotional attachments to all of that, all different sides of things, right? The empathy that the Democrats have, I completely understand. We should be taking care of people. We shouldn't let the weakest people in society collapse. We shouldn't let them get forgotten about, get run over. We shouldn't let civil rights go by the wayside. I don't think people should be spending time in prison for possessing marijuana or drugs at all, honestly. And I feel like sexual rights, the right to love whoever you want, should be up to you. You know what I mean? As an adult, if you're not hurting someone, you should have the freedom and the social ability to do whatever you want. That's how I feel about it. That's how most people feel about it. Some people want to impose theirs on others, but even people that are mostly Republicans still don't care, really. They just if you listen to them, they're more against some of the issues where it starts to cross certain lines with them, which I can understand some of those lines, right? And I love talking about those. Those are hard things to talk about and not get social. I won't talk about it on your podcast. So you don't have to
don't matter.
some of your former guests apparently had to mute out some of their things. And that won't be, I won't dive too deep into these ideas, but I'm happy to talk about any topics, right? Any topics you want to talk about, because I feel like that's what we need to do. The hard topics are the ones we need to talk about the most and have a rational conversation, a results-driven conversation, and not just talk about oh, my emotions are this or my intentions are this. No. What are the results from your policies? What are the policies? Oh, my emotions are drugs are bad. Okay. But locking people in cages for 10 years because they went on a poor person's vacation is wrong. It's worse, right? That's immoral. They didn't hurt anyone else besides themselves, and then you're going to hurt them more. That is not the right answer, right? And then what does it do? It creates gangs that kill each other. This is not the right answer, right? You want to end gun violence. The number one way to do that is end the war on drugs. You're going to stop 50% of all gun violence in this country can be tied to the war on drugs in some way. So let's have rational conversations about these things, right? And that's a problem. So to segue over into food here, right? So I'm at the point now where I thoroughly believe our food systems are corrupted to the core. And I didn't, 2.5 years ago, I started having some scary symptoms, right? I started feeling off balance. I started having problems with my vision where my eyes would kind of just move on their own. And I'd be reading and I'd jump around. I started having really intense brain fog where I would feel like I couldn't think. I'd be talking on the phone to someone, Jeff, and I'd be I wouldn't know who I was talking to. If even if I was right now with you guys, I'd be like Raymond and Jeff, who are I would not remember who you guys were. It would be it was insane. I was having I thought I was going crazy. And then I would have really intense bouts of fatigue where I'd feel really, really, really tired, but in the most intense way. It would just come on. I'd be walking and then I'd feel like I need to take a nap while I was walking. I'd be whoa, and then I would feel hot and cold tingles and these shocks going up and down my arms and stuff. And MS runs in my family. Like I said earlier, I'm adopted, so I don't know my blood in my family, but I know people close to me that have MS. So their symptoms were that these are classic symptoms of MS. So I made an appointment to see my doctor, and I go in, and the first day he's like, "It sounds like you've been poisoned." I'm like, "Well, this is like the very beginning of the pandemic," and I'm like, "Well, I don't think I've been poisoned. Maybe I have. I don't know, but my symptoms are getting worse." And so he's like, "Well," I was like, I brought up the idea of MS to him. He's like, oh yeah, this sounds like classic MS symptoms. So then we made appointments to see like neurology, like specialists, and I go to see them and they said the same thing. They said like, this sounds like classic MS. They did a bunch of tests and I had like a lot of the symptoms, a lot of the balance issues. And I was off balance all the time. Like I couldn't walk. I tried to walk upstairs and I'd like walk into the wall and walk back into the wall. It was really weird. And I couldn't keep my balance. I stopped training jiu-jitsu. I wasn't driving my car. And they did a brain scan on me, which is like the most reliable way to tell if you have MS. And it came back negative. So they're looking for lesions on my brain. And it came back negative. So I had no lesions. But all of my neurological problems seem to be radiating off my spine, right? And like the middle of my spine. And MS a lot of times can be on your spine. And it's a very hard disease to completely like diagnose, to say like you got MS 100%. Sometimes it takes years before the doctors are like, oh yeah. So one really good way to do it is to get a spinal tap. And like, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's like, it's a scary needle that goes in your spine. Mm-hmm. So I was nervous about that. I was contemplating it, but I wanted to know. But after the beginning of the pandemic, all doctor things were pushed back like months and months and months. I really feel like for people during that pandemic that didn't get to go see their doctor for things that could have been cured and they ended up dying, is really sad to me. And like the fact that COVID, in my opinion, like there was better solutions that we could have not left those people behind. And I think about that a lot. Like I was lucky that I was able to combat my symptoms. But anyways, I'm the kind of person that like my dad always is, he's, I look up to my dad a lot. He's a really good businessman and smart guy, self-made millionaire. Like he was poor. His parents came off the boat, like the American dream. He grew up on the east side of Buffalo, did the American dream, like, saved up his pennies, worked at Bethlehem Steel, like worked his way up, started buying businesses. We got, we started working together when I was in my young 20s, and he's taught me so much. And he always says, like, do something even if it's wrong, especially if you got a problem. Keep doing something and see if it works, and keep changing. And don't just do nothing. Don't hope that like the outside's going to come save you. No, you be part of the solution, right? So he's always kind of instilled that in me. And so when I started having symptoms, I started like immediately going online, going down rabbit holes and reading about like my symptoms. And I came across someone on the internet who I actually interacted with a little bit before. His name was George. And he was I kind of consider him a friend. We were friendly enough where we had conversations. And he had MS like really bad, like in bedridden, like wet in the bed kind of thing. Like couldn't control his bladder, like miserable. I'm like, I forgot the name of the drug, but it was like chemotherapy, right? And his life was miserable. Like he was a miserable mess. And he started doing a diet that fixed his MS. And the diet was carnivore diet, like a strict carnivore diet where he basically only ate meat. And within a few weeks, he was feeling like 80% better. Then within the first year, he was off all of his meds, had control of his bladder again, was able to walk and run. And then like after the 2-year mark of his being on carnivore diet, he went and got a brain scan, and his brain was like Swiss cheese. So with his scan, it was obvious MS with like lesions all over his brain. His brain remyelinated, which means his brain healed itself. And his doctors had never one time seen that before. So like doctors don't, doctors today, they get you on meds and they keep you on meds. To me, a good doctor should be someone that gets you off meds, right? And he got off all of his meds. So hearing this, I was like, well, I'm going to do something, in the saying of my dad, I'm like, I'm going to do something, even if it's wrong. And that seems like at least a glimmer of hope, even though it sounds fucking crazy. I'm going to eat this meat. But I started doing it. I mean, I could dive into all the specifics. And if you're out there and you're sick and you have, and MS is an autoimmune disease. So MS is autoimmune, where your body is attacking itself. And there's a host of these problems. Like I think there's 30 or 40 autoimmune disorders. If you have one and you're watching this right now and you're suffering like I was suffering, try it. Just try it. Just do it. Okay. Because all my symptoms went away. Like within weeks, I started feeling better. And there's going to be intricacies of this diet. So I don't know if I want to like get into all that detail right now. You can read about it in my Substack, like how to do the diet, how certain foods like eggs that have been fed soy can like affect you poorly, things like that. So you got to kind of be careful. Like carnivore diet is animal products, but if you're sick, I recommend doing a strict strict version of lion diet, which is just ruminant meat, salt, and water, and maybe bone broth, and do that for as long as you can do it. Like at least do 6 weeks, but try doing like 6 months and then see how you feel after 6 months. Because for me, I was feeling like -5, maybe -6. Like I always say, like a bad flu for me is like -3, maybe. And I was just miserable, man. I was just like, couldn't train jujitsu, which means like that sucks as like my life, like couldn't do any of the things I loved. Like it was gone. Couldn't walk, couldn't drive a car. Like I was like messed up, And then so I started feeling better. It took a while to get back to perfect. It took like over a year for me to get back to perfect. And I had only been sick for like a little while. So I imagine if you have autoimmune for a long time, I've seen it take a year for people to get back to feeling like just good. But for me, once I got back to feeling normal, back to zero, I started going the other way and a lot. All my joint pain went away. I lost 40 pounds. I mean, you saw me last year in the tournament.
Yeah.
I was like a skinny little peanut, right? And then so like I lost weight, but I felt good. Like, I mean, that match, like I was hanging off your sleeves with my hands the whole time. I couldn't play that game for years, like where I couldn't even, my grips were shot. Like after training, my hands were hurt. They're swollen all the time. All my inflammation was gone. And like, I was able to train like twice a day for like 2.5, 3 weeks up to that tournament and never had to ice my hands. I felt good the whole time and felt strong. Like it was just, I was so grateful that I could train again that I was like, I'm going to compete. You know what I mean? This is like, I feel just grateful that I can actually move again. But since that time, since I've healed myself, I also healed ailments that I didn't even, I knew I had, but I had like mental disorder. I had clinical anxiety and panic disorder, where I would have panic attacks all the time. And before I had my first panic attack, which was like at the age of, I don't know, maybe 33 or 32, I didn't know what panic attack was. So I would look at people that had panic attacks, like an anxiety. I'd be like, that's just an emotion. Like, just get over it. Like, be tough. And it's not that. That's not what anxiety is. It is a full-fledged body, like similar symptoms to almost MS, where you feel like dizzy sometimes and you feel like brain fog, but then you feel like your world closing in and trouble breathing, and it's like just really intense and scary. The first time it happened to me, I thought I was dying. I didn't know what was going on, and then I got so used to it. Like I got really used to like the anxiety, because I had it for so long. I took some meds for it, that kind of helped, but I got used to just being able to ride it out. I would look at it like almost like I was surfing. So I'd get like a wave of anxiety and I would just ride it out. I'd ride out that anxiety, and I was used to it. So when all of a sudden, after 6 weeks of carnivore diet, that just stopped, and I haven't had a panic attack or anxiety, not one time since then. I was baffled, man. I had like a decade almost of panic attacks just all of a sudden stop. I'm like, how is that possible, right? So then I started getting into the carnivore community, right? So there's like an online community with 100,000 people in some of the groups, and just people everywhere, like some famous people too. And I just started meeting people that were curing everything, like curing almost every autoimmune disease you know of. They were claiming to cure. But then it went beyond that, like all these mental disorders, like clinical depression, clinical anxiety, bipolar disorder. And I was like, this isn't right. Like I didn't believe it. But I certainly believe that it cured MS, because I saw my friends' brain scans and I seen what happened with me, right? And even though like I was never officially like diagnosed, like I bet every dollar I have, that's what I had, right? Like I really would bet that. I'd go get a whatever. I don't know how do you prove it right now. But either way, I had some kind of neurological disorder where I couldn't walk, and that went away. So kudos to that. But then my anxiety all went away, and then I stopped snoring. I stopped having like sleep apnea. I started just feeling like so much better. Never feel tired or during the day. I feel like all my symptoms went away, man. It's like I was baffled, right? So of course, like to me, results matter most. So, and what I really hate, guys, like I really hate seeing people suffer. Like I don't like seeing people suffer. So I started looking around my life, people that I knew had autoimmune diseases, and I tried not to be too like religiously zealot about it and say like, you got to eat, because it sounds so weird, like eat meat, you're gonna feel good, But like I just shared my experience, and I said that maybe this is an option for you, maybe like if you want to go down this path and try it. First of all, I'm endlessly curious person. I love learning. I'm addicted to learning, right? I want to I learn all day long. I just love learning, right? So if this is actually a thing, not only is like I can help people stop suffering, but I also can stick it to the people that are running these systems. The people that are running the systems and corrupting the systems, it's a way to stick it back to them if they really are corrupting it this way. So I looked at it like that. And I don't trust the medical systems at all, like, I mean, especially after the pandemic and everything that's happened. So I started thinking like, okay, maybe this is a way to open a bunch of people's eyes and a bunch of different things. So just like fit with all these core principles in my life. So I just started really talking about it openly. And then, I mean, this has been over 2 years now. Since that time, I personally know well over 100 people that have done the carnivore diet, and a huge chunk of them have done it for autoimmune disorders or mental disorders. And from what I can tell, it has really close to 100% success rate with nearly all of them, which to me is like mind-boggling, right? Like I have friends that just for weight loss alone I have students that lost over 100 pounds, 140 pounds. So Mustafa, you guys know, right? You seen him?
Yeah, for sure. I was just about to bring him up. Dan King says, "Thank you for sharing, brother. You helped me a lot."
What that?
Dan King just said, "Thank you for sharing, brother. You helped me a lot."
Oh, we're live right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Cool. What's up, buddy? I thought this was a recording. So yeah, I love Dan King, man. So there's some of my friends couldn't beat their autoimmune disorders, right? And Dan's one of them. But he had type 1 diabetes. So I know people with type 2 diabetes who have beat off all their meds. And there's like a Harvard study that it's like it's a study where they kind of survey people. So it's not like the gold standard of study. You could pick the study apart if you want to. However, every single study that shows that meat causes cancer or causes heart disease is the same exact kind of study. So you should be able to pick both of them apart, right? But the difference is that you can go and meet these people who have cured themselves and shake their hand. If someone dies of a heart disease, you don't know if they were eating seed oils or soy, which I think are the two biggest enemies, or processed sugars or processed wheats, and also eating meat. Because it would be like a survey where it's like, how much meat did you eat? Did you eat meat once a week, twice a week, and then you die of a heart attack or have cancer? And they go, see, meat is a correlation for that. But there's not one double-blind gold standard study that shows that meat causes any diseases, right? There's none of those. There's not one that shows that carnivore diet cures it either, but it's a newer thing, right? So like we're going to get there. We're going to be able, well, to me, the most important thing in science is being able to replicate independently a study. That's what science is. So like Einstein's equations, we replicate every day. We're doing it right now by talking on these phones using satellites. His equations of relativity and everything are being replicated right now as we talk. Or Maxwell's equations of electricity are being replicated right now as we talk. We have all of our electronics on right now, and that electricity is powering it. That is worth $1 billion. That's worth infinity studies. How many double-blind studies did Einstein have? 0. Like none of his equations were peer-reviewed studies. They just proved something and did it. So with carnivore diets, the same with me. I have seen so many people now go in to carnivore diet being sick with the idea that I'm going to do this diet to fix my problems and then fix their problems, right? And when I say autoimmune diseases that I've personally seen, I don't know the names of all of them, but there is, my ulcerative colitis is one that I have a couple people that are pretty close to me that have beat. I always do this, but shout out to my friend Lynn. She beat her ulcerative colitis. If you guys don't know what that is, it's really horrible stomach problems where your body attacks itself, attacks the lining of your stomach till the point where you're bleeding on the inside. And it's really bad. And like, it's got to be just so embarrassing for people like that has that. You see commercials for it on TV all the time. Watch, you'll see tomorrow, you'll turn on your TV and you'll see ulcerative colitis commercials everywhere. It's a big disease. Every single person I know that has done carnivore diet for ulcerative colitis has beat it 100%. She went back to her doctor. Now she's been doing it over a year. All of her blood work came back negative. All of her they did internal scans, is gone. She doesn't have ulcerative colitis anymore. But she also had clinical depression since she was a child, 10 years old, taking medication since she was a little kid. And that is gone too. I like to bring her up because she has had more than one, and one's mental and one is physical. It's just like mine. So a lot of my friends had like psoriasis in their skin, and they beat that. That's a tough one to beat. It takes a little while, but they beat it. Rheumatoid arthritis, another tough one to beat. Graves' disease, Hashimoto's, things with your thyroid. There's all different kinds of diseases that we all have that this is a bold thing for me to say, and this is maybe I'll receive pushback, and I'm okay with that because I only care about results. So push back on me, but I don't think that most autoimmune diseases are diseases. I think they're poisoning. Like that's just like the first day I went to the doctor and he said, "It sounds like you've been poisoned." I think it's a slow poisoning. That's what we're doing. We're slowly poisoning ourselves with seed oils and soy and refined sugars and refined wheats, all those things. If if you decide to clean up your diet, you can stop most of your health problems. And carnivore diet is just the easiest way to do that because red meat is one of the only foods on planet Earth that we can eat just one of and not have to supplement and not have to eat anything else. We can eat just red meat and water and survive, not just survive, but thrive. So that gives our body time to heal. Like the ongoing hypothesis for autoimmune diseases is that when we eat these poisons, we get leaky gut. And I don't understand this that much. I'm not a doctor, right? But somehow proteins leak into our bloodstream from our gut and they attach to different parts of our body. And these proteins aren't supposed to be there. And then our body sees that as an invader and launches a counterattack. If those proteins are attached to our lining of our stomach, you get ulcerative colitis. If they're attached to the myelin sheaths in your brain, you get MS. If they're attached to your skin, you get psoriasis. If they go to your thyroid, you get the myriad of thyroid problems that are associated with autoimmune disease. But that's the ongoing hypothesis that I think fits the most, and it's kind of like a slow poison, like chocolate to a dog. If you give a dog chocolate once, a little bit of chocolate, you give him just a little bit, he's not going to get sick. Give him a little every day. At the end of 2 months, he's half dead, right? And then he'll die from it eventually, even just a tiny little bit because his body can't process it the right way. Our bodies were not made to attack themselves. If you look back 120 years in the medical literature, there was not autoimmune problems. And now in all the charts for all these problems are going like this, straight up. Or if you're at home, I can't tell which way is up. One of these two. So they're just going straight up though. Like it's autoimmune diseases, boom, MS, boom, like mental disorders, anxiety, depression, boom, boom, bipolar disorder, boom. You look at all these things, heart disease, boom, cancers, boom. It's really sad to see all these diseases going up. If the FDA and the CDC were good systems and were results driven and were doing their job based on results, these things should be going down, right? Why are they going up? They're going up, and you know what's going up with them? Profits of big pharma, and their control over humanity. Like those are the things that are going up. And so,
hey Josh, it's no money on cure.
That's right. There's no money in the cure. There's no money in the cure, but you don't need any money to cure yourself. Is the beautiful thing. Like, here's the thing. Maybe if you're sitting at home right now, maybe like you had autoimmune disease for a long time and you can't cure yourself. Maybe it's gonna be super hard. Maybe the road there is really hard. Maybe you're not like suffering enough to do a diet that's this disciplined, because it requires some serious discipline. Yes. Like your stomach is gonna like change, and your stomach's gonna be upset while you're changing. Your body right now, your stomach biome saying, give me sugars, give me wheats, give me like whatever, even seed oils, give me all these poisons. And when you change that, it's not fun. It's not a fun time. And you're going to crave like all these sweets. You're going to crave like things, and it's hard to get through it. But I was suffering to the point where I didn't care. Like my suffering was worse than suffering from the entertainment that food brought me. So I was able to do it. Some people might not be suffering that much, or might be like teetering on it and might, find reasons to cheat and excuses. There are a couple people that I know that this diet didn't work for, but the one girl, I'm friends with her, she had like 6 autoimmune problems, like all kinds of stuff. Her thyroid was messed up. She had skin problems. She had rheumatoid arthritis, and she started feeling better. But then like one day, like 2 weeks in the diet, she calls me and I'm like, what are you doing right now? And she's like, oh, I'm at Starbucks having a Frappuccino. I'm like, wait, no, you can't do that. Like that's full of seed oils. That is like crushed up seeds and poisons and soy. And those are the cause of most of this disease. Like that is going to set you back. But even despite cheating, she was still feeling better. But then eventually she just quit. And now she goes to the Mayo clinics and all. I wish she would have stuck with it. I really do. I think she was heading in the right direction, feeling better. It's just hard. And I get how hard it is. And I don't do super strict carnivore all the time myself anymore. So I came to the point where like my autoimmune problems, if I would eat the wrong thing, if I would eat eggs that had soy in it, or if I would eat soy at all, like soy lecithin, or if I would eat seed oils which seed oils are in everything, guys. Like Raymond, if me and you went to the supermarket right now and we walked up and down the aisles, and I like your little bets you guys do. If I was like, all right, I'll bet you $20 that this item, packaged item, so we're not going on the outside of the aisles, we're going on the inside aisles. This packaged item has seed oils or soy in it. If it does, you give me $20. And if it doesn't, I'll give you $20. I'm walking out a millionaire, right? Every single item of our food has sesame seed oil or canola oil or soy lecithin or chemicals that you don't even know how to pronounce. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then on top of that, there's like there's oils, just seed oils. There's only a very few kind of oils that I think are good. Coconut oil is one. Coconut oil, butter is or lard or any animal oil I think is good. Arguably, extra virgin olive oil could be good, but it's so hard to find pure. They did tests on it, and it's always full of canola oil. It's cut. They lie about it. It's like garbage. Avocado oil can be pretty good. It's like the best of the worst, but it also is going to be cut. It's going to be rancid a lot of times, and so for me, I just try to stay with if there's oil in it, I will do coconut oil based things because I take electrolytes. I don't take any supplements. That's one thing. If you're going to do this diet, quit all your supplements because 95% of supplements have seed oils or plant poisons in them. Plants are poison. Right? If we went in my backyard right now and just started eating plants, we'd be dead by tomorrow. We would not make it. We would die. But we could go on planet Earth and eat every animal that exists, and except for two, poison dart frogs and the liver of a puffer fish or something like that, some organ of a puffer fish. But other than those two things, we can eat we could eat spiders if we want to, which is disgusting. But people do,
Yeah.
But red meat is the safest because animals that have four stomachs, they're called ruminants. They have four stomachs. Those stomachs detoxify the food, so they can eat plants that have toxins in them, and by the time it's turned into their meat, it's detoxified a lot, or their milk. Both is detoxified.
So it's like a filter, kind of.
It's like a filter, right? But if I eat chicken or pork that has been fed soy or seed oils and stuff, I will feel effects sometimes, right?
Oh, okay.
And so, anyways, because of the fact that my symptoms, if I do start to have symptoms, are just they last about a day or two. So I'll be off balance for a day or tingly for a day or whatever, and then because of that, and because some of my friends that I've made in this community will have very severe problems. Some of them will get Mustafa will get gout in his legs and he can't walk then. It's super severe. People think that red meat causes gout, right? When he started the diet, I know he had a flare up of gout. You're going to have a flare up or two, but he hasn't had when he's strict on his diet, gone. And he lost so much weight that people didn't recognize him. You'd see people.
He looks like his son.
You're right. That's what happened to him. He saw people a year later and they hadn't seen him in a year. And they didn't know him very well. They just kind of were acquaintances at church or whatever, and or at his mosque, I should say. And they would be like, "Hey, where's your brother? The guy was here last year, the big guy." He's like, "No, that's me. I'm the big guy."
He looks so much younger too.
Yeah.
His beard's cleaned off. He looks younger.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I definitely want to try this diet out.
You want to try it out?
I want to try this out. I want to So steaks be the best meat to eat?
Yeah, so look at people try to knock it because of a budget, right? It can be expensive. I just bought a bunch of steaks from Sloan Meat Market here. They were $5 a steak. I'll eat one a day and some ground beef. And then today I ate one steak and that's it. I ate butter. One steak and butter tea. That's it. And I feel satiated right now. I could go to sleep and not have to eat right now. Dude, that's the one thing is I feel really satiated from it's so nutritious. Go look at the nutritious content of red meat. It's insanely good for you. And if you look at fat and cholesterol as good for you instead of bad for you, which I believe it absolutely is, cholesterol you need for every single function of body, especially sexual function. And human testosterone levels have been like this ever since we introduced soy into our diets and got red meat out of our diets. Testosterone levels are down very, very bad. And I can tell you right now that my testosterone, I didn't test it, but my feeling of, I don't know what it, you know when you're feeling like you have testosterone when you're a kid. You can just go back to being like 21 or 18. Like, I didn't have that feeling when I was 35. And now I have it again when I'm 45, where I'm like, whoa, it's like weird. And I think it's just from removing soy and seed oils and toxins from my diet, but also getting enough cholesterol. And like cholesterol, all your brain function rests on cholesterol. So I'm sure you heard cholesterol is bad for you, right? This all is based on one study. It started with one study by a guy named Ansel Keys. And Ansel Keys worked for Kellogg. And guess what Kellogg made? Grains and bran and just crap like that. And he wanted to sterilize the population. That was like his idea. And so this is all based on one study. And basically the study was an observational study, which is a week study where it looked at heart attacks that people had, right? So maybe like 100 people died from heart. I don't know the study that well, but they looked at like heart attacks that people had, and they went to the source of the heart attack. So let's say the heart attack was acutely right here, and they found cholesterol there. And then they concluded that, oh, this cholesterol caused this heart attack. Well, guess what? If you break your finger, your body sends cholesterol there because it's a pre-hormone to fix everything. If you have a brain injury, your body sends cholesterol there. Your body needs cholesterol everywhere in your body, right? To do all functions. All functions are built on cholesterol. And so that is like a really weak study. And then the American Heart Disease was formed off of that and funded suspiciously by other offshoots of like industry that profits off this. So it's really just a corrupt system, and we're basing it all on that. But here's the thing. All you guys can prove it. Like carnivore diet, I hope you don't believe me. Don't believe me. Go do carnivore diet and see how you feel. It's hard to do, right? It's not easy to do, but do it for 6 weeks, especially if you have autoimmune problems. Especially if you have mental disorder like issues, right? You have problems with depression or anxiety, like those ones, man, like or bipolar. If you go on the forums and search for those, you're going to see testimonials for days. Just like I don't know anybody that it really hasn't worked for. If you go for autoimmune, same thing, but autoimmune is trickier because sometimes it takes a little longer. Sometimes you have to be like adjust your diet. Some people need to like add. So like if you have certain thyroid things, you might need to add iodine or like there's just like little tricks to it, right? But you're going to find answers. Just go and do it. Like do something, even if it's wrong, if you're suffering, right? And do it like you don't believe me. Like I don't want you to believe me. Like Nullius and Verba, don't take my word for it. Like just go do it and see if it works for you, see how you feel. But like I said, like I was able to add more stuff in my diet because I looked at myself as part of this community. And if somebody with psoriasis would eat the wrong thing, they would have a breakout of their skin. They look, embarrassed for 6 months and then have to wait for that to go away and like fight it off again, right? But for me, I would only be off balance for a day or two. So I started testing foods. I was like, I'm going to start testing foods, reporting back to the group how I feel after those tests. And then everyone, because nobody wants to eat just meat forever, right? It's like really hard to do that. So pretty much all fruits are safe if you get like organic fruits. There are a couple like question marks around fruits that are stone fruits. So like peaches and cherries, things like that. They have the plums that have like the stones inside of them. Yeah. Coconut's a stone fruit, but coconut is like the safest fruit that I know of. And I really test it. So what I'll do is any food I would test, I would eat like a couple of, and then wait a day. And then the next, like I'd wait 2 days, and then 2 days later, I would eat so much of it, it would make you sick. I'd eat like the first food I ate was like a blueberry. I'd eat a couple of blueberries, and I was like, all right. Then the next time I ate it till my teeth hurt, my mouth is blue, and I was like, oh, I was like sick. And then, but then I had no reaction, and I was like, guys, I think blueberries are safe. And then then people would eat blueberries and be like, all right, cool, I can eat blueberries. Some people like can't. Some people still can't. Like it's too big of a risk. Like they'll have like maybe their autoimmune is caused by a chemical spray or something that's just a tiny little thing that we can't figure out yet. Or just like, you got to think about like a plant toxin, right? They're in plants, right? So maybe people are just allergic to that now, whatever. But most people with the autoimmune can eat fruit. I don't recommend doing it though, until you're feeling, get to 100%, feeling good again. Then slowly add foods in. Cause if not, you'll slippery slope and regress. And then you'll start to have sugar cravings again too. So if you can keep doing it, keep doing it. Like I will go long stretches still where I'm strict carnivore because that's where I feel the best. I'll feel like I'll get tired spikes if I add sugar back in. but I was able to eat all fruits, honey, dairy if it's raw A2 protein dairy. So A2 protein is like it's a kind of protein. Most of our milk is A1 protein. A2, like I get it from the Amish. It's tough to get, and I get it raw, so it's not processed. Like my wife is allergic to milk, like an allergy, not like lactose intolerant. She's an allergy, and she can have raw A2 milk. So that might be something you want to try. Like I believe a lot of our allergies are caused by leaky gut too from stomach. And then I'm able to eat dairy, so I can eat like cheese and stuff. I haven't had dairy in like except for butter. Like I keep raw A2 butter. I put a little bit on my steak. In case it helps me keep my weight like 160ish instead of 149. And then outside of that, I will eat fruit. Like occasionally, I like figs and like I'll eat mangoes. So like right now, I'm in the middle of a week where I'm eating a little bit of fruit, but in a couple of weeks, I'm probably gonna cut it back out again and be strict. But so you don't have to think of this as like a life sentence to carnivore diet. You can have a carnivore-esque diet, like, or you can just commit to shopping in the outside aisles. Like, don't buy things in packages anymore. Like it's as bad as smoking. I really believe that. It's like what we're eating is as bad as smoking, and they're putting stuff in foods that are really, really bad for us. Really, really bad.
Got a question for you. You think the corruption with food, where they're putting stuff in food, you think they're doing the same thing with the marijuana?
That's a really good question. I don't know. So like I don't use cannabis currently, but like I went and I've gone stretches where I'll use it a little bit here and there. I do see the purpose of using cannabis, right? Like I as an artist, as a writer, it helps me like zoom my lens out, So like I would use it occasionally to like zoom back to see the bigger picture, right? And I think that's what it really does. Like I want to be acutely focused on something. I can be, and then when you use like certain psychedelics, you can really expand your mind and look at it. But when you expand your mind, you open it to two things. You open it to creativity, which is good, but you open it to fear, which is bad. So like your mind, you connect to your imagination. That's what this is a whole topic I could get into, but I believe that our imagination is the closest we can be to God. That's what I believe. Whatever God means to you, it doesn't matter. Our imagination is a unique gift in the universe that we have as people, and we can create. Just like all religions call God like the creator, our imagination is creating, right? So we can connect to that. However, when you connect to it too much, like maybe using cannabis, you can also create fear. Like you can either create beautiful things or with your imagination, or you can imagine bad things and create fear. And so a couple times I had used it maybe like a year ago, I found myself like feeling actually depressed, like which I never ever feel. Like I've never had a problem with depression, but I was finding like these depressed feelings that I was getting into. And so I just decided that it wasn't the best for me. I'm not saying I'm never going to do it again. I do see that like if I get writer's block, or if I'm not connecting to my imagination, it might be a tool where I can use it to connect to my imagination. But I don't want to use it as a crutch and say, I'm going to find a way to connect to my imagination other ways for right now, unless I find a reason to need it. So I do think that thought did cross my mind, but I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't have an answer for that. I feel like the food for sure is bad. There's bad food. Like soy is not good for humans. Right? But like the seeds, right? All the worst seeds in the world are like all the worst poisons that we can think of. If I say name a poison, go ahead.
Arsenic.
Arsenic. Name another poison.
Almonds.
Well, almonds have cyanide in it. So yeah. So there's cyanide, arsenic. These are all like made from seeds, right? Like
yeah.
So almonds. If I eat almonds, it's one of the worst foods for me. So people don't think of nuts as seeds. Before I got sick, I loved nuts. Like I would eat like a bag of almonds and peanuts, and man, they're so good. And that's like, it was really depressing for me to not, and I tried it. I was like, I'm going to add these back into my diet, and they will mess me up really bad. All my muscles contract. I feel like I've been poisoned. All my muscles contract, and I have all these like crazy spasms, and I'll end up in bed for 2 days. It's the single worst food, maybe tied with like seed oils and soy. But like almonds, like I'm in the most pain. They cause pain, like physical pain for me. And it's depressing because I used to eat a lot of it, but maybe that's what caused my problem, right? Maybe that's eating so many seeds eating handfuls and handfuls and handfuls of seeds, having one stomach, like I wasn't able to handle that. And you got to think there's so many things that are seeds. Seeds are seeds. Seeds are also beans. Seeds are also nuts. Seeds are also wheat. Wheat is a seed. Corn. I mean, corn's a flour, but it's also like produces a seed. And then you have grains. Grains are seeds. Everyone's like, eat a granola or oatmeal. These are seeds. They're defended with chemicals, all of them, right? And be careful eating them. Be careful eating breads. Like you can do it, but like I know people that have autoimmune, and if almost everyone with autoimmune eats any of those things, they're gonna have a reaction. So I won't keep going on this. This is pretty deeply in the topic, but
Yeah.
I do want to finish up by saying, like, if you're suffering, try to prove me wrong. And even if you do prove me wrong, I want to hear about it. Like I don't care. I don't care about being right. I don't care about being right. I care about people not suffering. And maybe whatever you're doing, if you're trying to do it and it doesn't work, maybe there's ways that you haven't thought of yet. There's adjustments you can make. But maybe also you have a problem that can't be cured by diet. That's okay too. But that's valuable information for other people that have your similar problems. But with my own eyes, I've seen too many people cure themselves now I will never shut up about it. Like I won't shut up about it. Like I will talk I'll be like walking in the store and I'll hear someone talk about autoimmune. I'm like, hi, and I feel like something's wrong. I'm a Jehovah's Witness I'm a carnivore witness. That's what I am. And but look at like it's miracles. Like that's what it is. Like people that were suffering for so long that had no other options are finding ways to cure themselves. And there's no way the medical community doesn't know about this. Like the higher ups, there's 100,000 people online in these groups. It's growing, and they're trying to fight it by saying meat's bad for the planet or meat's bad. This is like this is a war. This is a hill I'm willing to die on. Like really am willing to die on it. Not for myself, but for the people that are trying to cause suffering for all humanity. I don't care. Like I won't just stand for that, right? And now that I see that, like I'm grateful that happened to me, because I'm going to be the person that I'm not embarrassed. I don't care. Like I can't be embarrassed. Like I don't care. I'll tell everyone. I don't puff up. I don't shrink. I'm just going to tell you my truth and prove me wrong. And if you do, let's use that information to grow. Right.
Hey,
I
Caveman.
did it for
our friend Mark Coleman is doing the diet.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I know. Mark Coleman's doing it for sure. He cleaned up. He stopped drinking.
Yeah.
He's doing a carnivore diet. Looks
He
great.
stopped drinking.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I have some friends that had trained with him in the past and stuff, so that's good to hear. And like, but you gotta quit drinking, because that's wheat, or like you don't know. So, like some people do carnivore diet and start drinking again, but they're really like careful with it. Like they end up starting with like pure. I know that Tito's vodka seems to be pretty safe for some people. So if what's holding you back from doing carnivore diet is the fact that you can't stop drinking, like I'm not here to judge you. Maybe try like carnivore diet, or I'm sorry, Tito's. Try Tito's, like or something like more not wheat related. Try something that's going to be less ingredients. I will not eat I won't try anything. Like I'm just done. Like I told you, I was a guinea pig for the carnivore community for like because like it's not a big risk for me. But I will never try anything in a package that has more than one ingredient that I don't know what they are. And there's just no sense in it. I'll get dried fruit in a package, so I won't say I don't eat things in a package. And my butter comes in it comes from the Amish, but it comes in a little package. But it's just butter. You know what I mean? And I have tried ice cream, actually, which makes me so happy. Like, let me tell you this. When you go 1.5 years and you only eat meat, the first time you put a blueberry in your mouth, it's like the best feeling you've ever had. You're just like, how did I not appreciate fruit so much more than I used to? Like I used to just eat garbage and just be like blah blah blah. No, now I just eat fruit, and I like every time I put it in my mouth, I'm like, I'm so grateful that I can eat this. I'm so happy that I can eat fruit safely, and it's so delicious, right? But you go that long without eating ice cream, which I went like a year and a half without, or no, almost 2 years without eating ice cream. I did eat ice cream that was made with raw A2 milk, and then pasture-raised eggs that were not fed soy, honey, vanilla bean extract. That's it. And it was the best thing ever. I sat down with a pint like this, and I was like, I told you I like to taste one thing and then wait a day. Yeah. No, this is like, I'm like, I'm gonna die. I was like, and then I was like, then I couldn't order it though. Again, I was like, I just don't order it, because if I do, it's like, I like being disciplined and honest with myself and honest with everyone else. So, I will eat it again, but it's going to be like, every 6 months when I treat myself for something that I'm proud of, I'm like, all right, time to order some vanilla ice cream, from the Amish.
If
So
you are going to do this diet, definitely take some time to meal prep because it's very difficult to get meals on the run because you can't really go anywhere. You need to actually prep it. I did it for 6 weeks, and the days I didn't meal prep were like awful because I'm like, man, I can't eat anything anywhere. Like it's so hard to find something you can eat. So make
Now,
sure that you have stuff ready to eat for yourself.
when did you do it for 6 weeks?
I did it for 6 weeks. Right after Mustafa did it, he told me to do it. I did it like really hardcore for 6 weeks, and now I do mostly carnivore, but I have fruit and I have a little bit of rice and some other stuff.
You might call that the caveman diet, right?
Yeah, the caveman diet.
Nice.
But
So
it's
that's awesome.
it.
And how did you feel? Do you feel better now? Like, did you cut all
I
this?
felt the best doing straight carnivore, but I had such a hard time not having like something to eat. So
Yeah.
now, like in the mornings when I'm rushed, I didn't prep. I just grab some fruit and I have like a apple or banana or something in the morning. Then I'll have some eggs when I get home, and
Yeah.
then I'll go to the gym and then I'll have steak when I get home or ground beef. Or I like to make ground beef and just take it with me and just eat the ground beef. And like it's so filling. You
Yeah.
guys will not be hungry. It doesn't have to be expensive, but you do have to meal prep.
Yeah. Meal prep. Like eggs are really good. You take hard boiled eggs with you. I don't eat eggs because I'm terrified of them because I have a really bad reaction if they've been fed soy. I was eating pasture raised soy free eggs on occasion and not having a problem, but then I got one egg one day and it would like just messed me up and it ruined my whole day. So I'm just really careful with that. But that's an easy prep. Another prep, like I travel quite a bit, and what I'll do is this is awesome. I buy a whole brisket, like a brisket, and Sloan's Meat Market in Buffalo will slice it thin for you, and I have them pre-slice it. A lot of places won't slice it when it's they'll only slice it if it's cooked. They slice it beforehand, and then I put it in like a dehydrator, and I make my own jerky and just put salt on it. And it's so like I'll go on a whole trip with like a brisket and a half, and it'll last 5 days. And maybe like you can get burgers like so many places. Like just go up somewhere and be like, just give me two beef patties. Like I go birding a lot in the southern tier looking for wildlife, and there's like a place on a Indian reservation down there that will just make me two burgers for like $5. And so I know it's a long day and I'm going to be hungry, and I'll just like stop there and get my two burgers. And then the last thing I'll say is like, yes, coffee are beans and beans are a seed, but most people can tolerate coffee. If you're really sick, quit it. I quit it for over a year, but now I do it occasionally.
hey Josh, did you ever try mushroom coffee?
I never tried it. No, I never did. Have you?
Yeah.
You like it?
I like it.
Has it got caffeine in it? It wakes you up?
Yeah. I gotta look at the ingredients to see if it got any of that stuff you were talking about.
Seed oils and soy?
Yeah, I gotta check it out.
Yeah, so seed oils, like if I could say again, like seed oils and soy should be the enemy of everyone. It should be the equivalent of like if your kids are eating seed oils and soy, which they are. Like every kid, like it's so hard for kids too. I feel bad. And there's other weird things that carnivore diet is showing really promising. I have a nephew and he has autism, right? Like I don't like push this on my family or anything like that, but online they're showing very good results with it seems like autism and carnivore diet, which is everyone knows in the autism community there's a gut brain connection. Like that, this is like widely known. Almost all the kids have problems with both, right? So it's very interesting to see that connection. And there's also a connection to stem cells. It kind of like the same thing that carnivore diet does to you. It like reduces inflammation and it helps with your cell reproduction and things like that. The same thing happens when you get stem cell therapy with mesenchymal stem cells. They kind of like mirror each other and what benefits you have from them. And maybe if you do them together, if you're really sick, maybe consider like looking into both and doing both together. But yeah, but that's all I gotta say about that. If you're suffering, like, and you're watching this, and you want to talk about it, like just call me, or like my phone number is on the Jiu Jitsu website. Like that's my actual phone number for Buffalo United Martial Arts. Text me, call me, I'll talk to you. Like I don't want to see anyone suffering, and or just reach out to me on social media or Substack or whatever you want, and I'll definitely do my best to at least get you in the right area. And if you tell me, hey, this is my problems, I could probably introduce you to someone that has gone through the same situation that you have. but like maybe even locally where you can go shake their hand and talk to them, or maybe one of my friends you can FaceTime with like this, or maybe it's just someone like you'll be able to at least on the internet find other people like on your journey if I give you the right avenues to go look, you know.
Definitely do it. That's the best I've ever felt. I wish I was disciplined enough to eat strict carnivore all the time. I feel really good the way I am now. Like my inflammation's down. I train every day.
Yeah.
I don't have any serious problems. But I got poked in the eye and then I got pink eye real bad and it was viral. So like every now and then, if I eat bad, like I have a hard time seeing. My eye clouds up and it's just my body fighting itself. And when I ate strict carnivore by the end of the fifth week, I could see like clearly the same out of both eyes. And
Wow.
it's not the same because like even adding fruit changes it, but not enough where it makes me not eat like that. It's so hard to, for me, it's very difficult to eat so strict carnivore. Just my time management is not as good as yours, obviously.
No, but like when it's not easy for me either, but it's like when you're suffering, it's like I'm not going back to that, right? So it's like it's a little easier. It sounds like cruel, but like when I had my one friend kind of quit carnivore diet, I was like, you're just maybe not suffering enough, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Because like if you're
for sure.
suffering enough, you look at it as an alternative. Like this is my two choices, and it requires discipline, right? Like discipline, motivation only lasts so long. Discipline is something that's like it's hard, a lot harder to do. And like even me, I don't do strict carnivore all the time anymore. I get it. It's like I want to enjoy life. I don't want to be like craving things all the time. And I think the human diet is supposed to be a little bit flexible metabolically, but start baseline at carnivore and then add a couple of things and then keep like playing with your diet and just shop the outside of the aisles. Like stop buying packaged foods. Stop buying like you man, like creamers for coffee. All of them are disgusting. They're all full of poisons. There's so much stuff. There's no reason for there to be these poisons and like a lot of countries in the world, Italy and England and France, they don't allow these things in their food. We put them on everything. And seed oils used to be a lubricant for manufacturing, and now we put it on our food. It's wrong. It's just wrong. Like there doesn't need to be sunflower seed oil or canola oil or safflower oil or peanut oil on raisins. I just want dried raisins. I don't want your like so when you're buying if you're buying dried fruit, don't just buy dried fruit. Look at the label. It should have one ingredient. It should say dried raisins. That's it. If it says dried raisins, sunflower seed oil, or some weird chemical added for whatever, don't buy it. You can find your and like I got like a dehydrator. You can make your own fruit. You can do all that yourself. You know, you're right. It requires discipline and meal prep, but it's better than getting sick. You know.
That's awesome. I got one last thing. You have so many things going on. How do you manage time management? Like you're so good at it. You have time to go like take pictures of birds. Like
Yeah.
I'm so fascinated by you.
Well, it sure helps it. I don't have children, so like I know you have children, right? Ray, do you have kids?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you guys are family men, and if I did, man, I'd be dedicated to that. You know, like I have students in Jiu Jitsu. I'm dedicated to teaching that, but in a lot of the things that anything that I can run, like I told you, decentralize your leadership, and it frees up your time. Like I'm not a micromanager at all. I'm the opposite. Like whatever the opposite of a micromanager is, that's what I am. Like I want to, you know, I want to talk about problem solving and let people connect to their own imaginations and have their own input in their systems. And like I'll end with like one real quick story, like super quick story. So just an example, like so when I work at Pearl Street Grill and Brewery. So if you guys are from Buffalo, maybe you've heard of Pearl Street Grill and Brewery. I was thrown into management when I was really young there because they trusted me. They're like, all right. The old management was stealing and doing stuff. And it was almost bankrupt. The company was like had nothing going on, and they're like, you know, we trust you. You're a manager. And I was like, well, I don't know how to manage. Like so. At my first manager meeting, I passed out questionnaires, you know, and then the ideas that came from that really worked well. And I started like going like I'm gonna do this more often. There's a book called the Starfish and the Spider, The Unstoppable Power of Leaderless Organizations. So I read that and I was like, how can I apply that to my life? And then I just started applying it to like my, you know, any little system that I was in charge of or big system. And I started listening. So one really cool example was the host stand. When you walk in the restaurant, you know, when you used to come in and you ask for a table, we were on a wait, we'd write down your name and then we'd give you a pager And then like when your table was ready, we hit a beep and it would be, you used to go to Red Lobster, you get a lobster claw pager, right? And then like when your dinner was ready, that would beep and you'd go back up and be like, all right. So we had those, but they weren't lobster claws. They were just little pagers. And we kept losing them all the time. And so at one of my meetings, I was like, how can we make this problem so we don't lose these pagers? We spent like thousands of dollars last year replacing pagers. And one of the girl hosts was like, well, why don't we use a cell phone and just text people, right, when their table's ready? And I was like, that's a really good idea. So like, this is how long ago it was. We used like a flip phone at the host now. And when people come in, we'd write their number down and we'd text them the letter R when their table was ready, be like beep, boop, boop. And then some dude came in just randomly from like New York City and was like, we could turn this into an app and like make this be an app. And I was like, that's a cool idea. So we built an app for like, it was the iPad 2, like the second version. That's how long ago this was, right? Now there's like, this is an iPhone's 15 or whatever. I don't even know what they're on. But like we built on the iPad 2, and then we were the ground floor for that. But we worked on results. We talked back and forth, just like developing a jiu-jitsu position. We're like, all right, let's change this on here and change that. We've made a really nice app that came backwards, just like by asking, like, how do you do this? That app got bought out by another company, and now pretty much every country or every restaurant in the country uses this app or Open Table or a similar app that I never saw before. Our restaurant was ground floor in terms of me looking. And I looked, like when I travel, I go to restaurants. That's what I do. I go to restaurants, kind of see what they're doing, try to steal ideas. And I never saw anyone doing that. The idea just came from listening to a problem that we had and a solution that came from decentralized leadership, and then implementing and then believing in the people. And then I'd take votes too. I'd ask people like, this is a good idea. And everyone would be like, yes. So we'd vote on the idea, and then I'd fight for the idea. Like I didn't have say in like everything, like the money, like situation. Like I couldn't take our money and just throw it randomly at stuff. I'd had to fight for it. Be like, hey, but there are so many ideas at Pearl Street came from this way. Putting the patios on Pearl Street and like building banquet rooms, and like there's just so many good ideas that came from listening, that working with ownership and decentralized leadership and pulling back and forth, we came up with really cool ideas. So if you're in a position of leadership, decentralize yourself.
I love it. Thank you very much. That's Josh Ketry. Had him on the show. He's like someone I want to model myself after. Right now we got the submission circuit sign up, like just flowing through. It's in the comments. So if you click on the link, it'll take you right to the sign up. So make sure you sign up. You got till Tuesday. I got a couple more people from my gym signing up. I'm obviously going to sign up right after we get off of here. So thank you so much for your time. Dan King says thank you. Like, it was an awesome podcast, Josh. Thanks for coming on.
Guys, thanks so much for having me. Both of you guys, like, keep doing like what you guys are doing, man. Like talking. This is how we think. This is a system that can't be controlled. Conversations between people, podcasts, like just spreading, talking to people, and keep doing what you're doing with K4, guys. You're doing an awesome job. The brands putting Buffalo on the map for MMA. Like there's people like right now, everybody wants to fight on K4. They know it's just a sweet event, and you guys are like the voices of it. So like keep rocking, and guys, thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
No, we appreciate you. Thank you so much, Josh. Thank you. That's Josh Ketry. He's out.
See ya.
That was a good one, Ray.
Oh yeah.
You gonna diet and get healthy?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna try it out. Mark Coleman sent me a message on Facebook.
Yeah.
You're like, how you guys doing? I'm like, we good. But
dude, just send him this. He'll probably be all about. He's doing a diet. He's really doing a carnivore diet. And...
Oh yeah, he really is. So I definitely want to try it out, Caveman. I got some steaks.
It's tough. It's so like the eating part isn't tough. Just the meal prep is tough. Like it takes a lot of planning to do it strict. The way I'm doing it now, it's not so bad. I just make ground beef and I have fruit, and when I'm feeling yummy, I get steak.
I've been fasting though. I do like 16-hour fasting, and a few weeks ago I was like 260. Now I'm like 230, 34 now.
Nice.
Very nice. I lost a few pounds there.
All right. Do we have Joe Taylor for next week yet?
I think so. Yeah, we do.
Hopefully next week, guys, we're gonna have Joe Taylor on to talk about his fights the weekend after that. So we got a lot of stuff going on. I forgot to ask Josh about Grappling Industries. I'll have to ask him when I see him. Huh? No, they always do their tournament 1 week after Josh's. And
okay.
I wanted to ask him about that, and I totally slipped my mind.
Wait, they come to Buffalo?
Yeah, they come to Buffalo.
Oh
So
wow.
they're this week is the submission circuit one, Josh Ketry's, and that's the one like I try and get all my guys to do. And then the week after that is the Grappling Industries one, and they're always the week after. I don't know why. They're like okay guys. You know, I mean, we did Sean. We hung out with Sean when he was in, and we talked about him on the podcast about
Yeah.
Grappling Industries. There's nothing like. It's great to have more jiu-jitsu in the area. It's just
But I don't think Josh work with them no more.
no.
I mean, Sean. My
Sean,
bad.
no, he don't work with them no more either. He had a falling out too. I don't know. So that's where we're at. We'll be back next week. Well, hopefully we'll have Joe Taylor to talk about the fights. Butch is listening. Butch Chadwick. We talked about him a little bit.
Yeah.
We told his story. Like it was awesome that he got to compete in the tournament, and then like he got to fight. And there's a picture of him fighting right now. And
Yeah.
like it's probably not good that he got to fight because he killed his poor opponent. But you know, like it is what it is. I'm just kidding, guys. All right, that's it. Caveman's Corner. We're out.
We out of here.